I've masked it off, and the reason I masked it off to be a kind of a square, and I have a little space here. I could do it on either side. I have a little space to do some swatching if I want. So I want mine to be almost square because the aspen trees are tall. So I kind of thought it would be fun to do a sort of a square format instead of, a landscape. So I've got this masked off. It's my 140-pound cold press watercolor paper, masked off, and I have a little masonite, which I love, tempered masonite to mount my painting or my stuff on. I've got some water, my paints. I also have if you have a pencil, like a drafting pencil, something light, or even better, if you have a watercolor pencil. I have a gray one here, and that one is going to be fun because it will dissolve, the water will dissolve the pencil lines. So that's watercolor pencils are really handy to have. You can have it in any color that you want, but today I'm going to do more on the blue, I'm going to stay in one color family. I'm not going to go complementary colors. I'll probably, like this one, I did some complementary colors, which could have turned muddy. They didn't, but they could. But we're going to start with doing a wash of color first, and then we're going to and if you have a heat gun or a dryer, that's really good to have to kind of get all that stuff dry, the layers, because you need your layers completely dry in between before you do the next. So the first thing, kind of like we did leaves before, and I think we did like a pretty medium wash. Today, I have to remember that aspen trees are very light. In fact, their trunks are almost white. So I'm going to do a very pale wash of color, and I'm also going to kind of go across this way, leaving some white areas so that it looks like maybe sunlight or something like that. So knowing my subject is going to be trees and sunlight coming through, I'm going to just take some water and I'm going to put it on my paper. And I'm just kind of, leaving some white areas or some areas that haven't been wet. I'm just going to you can see I've got little gaps, and I'm just going across kind of in a landscape fashion, and maybe a couple of crisscrosses just with water only. And this will give me a wash of color, but leaving some white areas. So that's important, especially as we do these aspens. So if you don't want to do aspens, you can do any kind of tree. Now the first layer, I think I'm going to just do just a very, very light, probably some blue up in the top. I'm going to be a little bit more painterly than I normally do when I do one of these washes. I'm just going to kind of put some blue here. This is a cobalt. I think that's cobalt blue. Or no, it's cerulean blue, I think, which makes a really nice kind of impression of a sky. And it has some granulation, which is kind of nice. And then I'll probably put maybe a little bit of yellow. If I put in a little bit of yellow, I'm going to put it kind of down in here, just here and there. Very light, just a light wash. And I think I'll try another type of blue. I don't know which this one is. It's more of I don't know what this one's more of an indigo, I think, but very, very pale. And I'm going to kind of move it around, leaving those white areas. Maybe a little raw umber, or not raw. Yeah, that's raw umber, I think. So I'm just gonna like that. So I've got like a very light wash with some white. And I might even try a little, maybe not, quinacridone gold might be just a little too strong. So I could try a little green, just a little maybe down on the bottom. Oh, that's too bright, but that's all right. There we go. So I've got a little wash of color. If I wanted to have other colors and introduce like a magenta or something like that, I could also add a little, just a touch, maybe down in these areas. So kind of just have fun with a very pale wash. And notice this blue really sunk right into the paper and it's not blending very well. So I'm going to just take a different blue and see if I can kind of move it around, but I'm trying to retain some of that white if I can. So this is like the landscape. This is before we make any trees. All right, so I've got that. And if when I do some new color washes, I can check it out. And I can also see what the white what I have, this white over here compared to this, so it's good to double check your colors. So now I'm going to just go ahead, maybe I'll stick a little umber down here, some kind of, I don't know what that is. It's kind of an interesting color. And maybe some more of that yellow up there. And I've still got the whites, and now I'm going to go ahead and use my heat gun and give it a, just give it, until it dries completely. Each of these layers have to be completely dry. I don't have as much white as I thought I would have, but I have some, so that's good. And you can see I got my paper really wet, but that's okay. Maybe the colors will blend better that way. The reason I like using a masonite panel is I'm able to lift my paper, move it around. I'm going to be able to turn it. So that's very, very handy to have something like this, to be able to make it more portable, and it's easier to do brush work when you turn it around sometimes. So I've got that pretty much ready to go. Now this was a big brush that I used. This has got a lot of water in it. It's great for doing this. And I'm not going to use this anymore because basically it's good to have a few size brushes, and I didn't tell you that before. Because as you start with your first layer, you're going to be doing laying down more paint. But as you go farther and farther into the layers, you'll use a smaller brush to get detail and just for smaller areas that you're going to be painting in. So the first thing I'm going to do, and this is, I'm going to use the watercolor pencil just to show you. I'm going to go ahead and do maybe 3 trees at the most. And I'm going to have I'm going to start the horizon kind of right here. And actually what I want to do is I'm going to draw right at the very bottom, right where this white is. Why not? Because it's right there. I'm going to draw a line, and then I'm going to just take my tree trunk, and I'm going to try to, oops, this is hard to see. I don't see it. There we are. So I've got going to make the tree trunk go up, and then I'm going to bring maybe up. It's a tall one, so I'm going to go straight up. And then I'm going to take my first branch and go off to the left like this. And then I'm going to make this trunk probably about an inch. It's like a little less than an inch. So it's not really big. But here I'm going to just do a little branch just because they make these little branches that kind of go off to the side. And you can always erase if your pencil line isn't really what you want, you can always erase. And then I'm going to make another little branch up here. And there, it goes all the way up to the sky. It goes past it's going to go past the edge of the paper because these are really tall trees. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make like a little horizon line here, and I'm going to draw another one, kind of maybe a little lower. This one is going to start right in the smack in the middle, which probably is not a good idea. I'm going to go move it a little over. And I'm going to do this one just a little off, because I think if I did it in the middle, it wouldn't be such a good thing. So now I'm going to go ahead and just do another line up, and maybe some, another branch, thin, because they do make thin branches, and then just kind of go up and maybe another thin branch, and then up all the way up. So just kind of play with the branches here. This is the first time I've used this colored watercolor pencil, so I hope it works. So there's my second one, my second birch, and I'm kind of having them kind of go into the ground a little bit so that my horizon is up a little. And then my third one, so I'm going to do 3. I'm going to make my third one right here. Right here, I'll start it, and I'm going to just do another row and kind of just play. Just make some branches. And if you don't want to do a birch, you can just do any kind of tree. Just even if it's a stylized tree, it doesn't have to be a birch. It doesn't have to be exactly this, or an aspen. Just do whatever you want. Just get the trunk going, and you've got 3 trunks kind of going up, and then you have a horizon. So we've got the horizon right here. It's a small horizon line, and I've got 3 trunks, and that's it right now. And if I wanted to kind of enhance this a little bit, like looking at more aspens or looking at just trees, if you want more interest, have more branches, go different directions. So I'm going to add just a couple of branches going up here, and maybe one kind of going up there. Okay, so now I think I've got enough. Maybe I think this one needs me another one. So I'm just kind of thin little branches going out and up. This one I'm going to go farther out. So there, I think I have enough to get a start. Now I don't have an eraser I'm hoping this will dissolve the watercolor, but if I'd use my regular pencil, I could erase some of these lines, and maybe we'll see if I can even erase any of them, because I kind of got really thick here. Let's just see if I can erase it. Yep, it's erasable, so that's good news. So now I'm ready to do my first layer. What we're doing is we're not going to paint anything that's inside these lines. It has to be everything on the outside, the negative space of your tree. What I like to do is I'm going to just turn it over, and I see where my negative space is, and I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to fill it in. Now it looks like I can use this brush. I think my first color will be, it could be any combination of the same colors that you did, that you first did it with. I'm going to do a mixture or a kind of a combination of different colors just because. But I'm going to keep it light, like a medium grade. You don't want to go much darker than what's already on here. So I'm just going to pull some color and see what I've got here. And just pick, I've got a blue that I'm going to use, and it's a receding color, so I might just use the same combination of colors that I had here, some blues, and I'm going to start, and I'm going to take my negative area. I'm going on the outside of my tree. I'm not going to go inside that line. I'm going to go on the outside. So I'm going to add a little bit of kind of a purpley color just to darken it a little bit. So I don't want it too dark, but I want it dark enough so I can see the difference between the line or my drawings. Here we go. Just dropping in some color, and I want it to be kind of mixed up like that. Drop in colors and let them blend together on the paper. There we go. And I'm going to let that sit. And I could drop a little bit of yellow just for fun right in this little spot here. So you're taking each of your negative spaces, which this is my first negative space, and I'm actually just going to treat it like a little mini painting. I'm not thinking about the subject matter. That's why it's turned upside down. I'm just putting color in and letting it just do its thing. So I'm going to do the same thing with this negative space that's above here. I'll take some color, and I'm going to just there's my branch that's there that I drew, and I'm going to do the same thing, just create another little small painting. I'm just dropping some color in, and each little negative space kind of becomes its own little abstract. So we don't think about too much about what what this subject is right now, because it's already been drawn. So all I have to do is look for the negative spaces. So I'm going to do the same. I've got a large negative space here with some branches coming in between my trunks. So I'm going to go ahead and fill those in with colors, and I'm just going to start at the bottom. Right here is where my horizon is. And you can make it kind of, curvy so that it looks like a ground instead of straight across. And I'm just going to make a nice really wet wash here of color. And I'm going to just try, there we go, just do some blue. This would be our second layer. I mean, it is our second layer. And we're going to just use it as, like, this is a large area, so I've got to work kind of fast. And I'm going to drop some color in, that just like I did with the other one. Just boop, little colors here and there. If you want to, aspen trees or birch trees their leaves turn a gorgeous yellow in the fall, and you could do some, kind of hints of that color just moving through. You could just think about, not really, you don't have to think, just put color down and play. You can even make like little dots, and Now I'm coming up to my branches here, so I don't want to paint those. So I'm going to just go up to the branch, which is on the outside of my drawing. And I'm going to do the same. I'm going to just bring that little thin line, which is that little branch. I've got kind of a nice wet wash going here, which is really good. And I'm going to go up to that place there. And then I could keep everything wet as you're doing this, because then there won't be obvious lines. Let's see, I'll go in here where this is where the little branch, and you can still change it up if you want. You can make your branches branch off even, like here I'm making up a branch that wasn't there, but I'm doing it upside down. It really changes the dynamic of your drawing or your painting, because you're really not thinking so much. You're really loosen up. You actually can loosen up, and it's more freeing, I think, to do it this way. I'm going to put a little bit of yellow in there, just pop some in there, just to change it up, and some of that same purple color, or whatever that color is. It's like a quinacridone violet, I think. Here's another negative space. So just kind of go into, this is the largest one I'm taking my time on, but at the same time, I don't want to let these areas dry. So I go right to where it's wet, and then I'm going to go in here. I see my little negative space. So now I'm going to drop more color in there once I've found that space. There it is, right there. So now I'm going to just leave that alone, because you can see the layers there. It's fine. And this part is the last part right here. This little section needs to be finished. And then this little branch, negative space right there. Okay, so now I've got that section. I'm going to turn it over so you can just kind of see what's happening. There's that first layer, but I'm going to keep going. This is a much smaller area, and this is even smaller. So now I'm going to take a smaller brush, because this big brush is just going to hold way too much water for that. So I'm going to just take this, and it might be too small, but that's all right. Don't have an in-between one today. So I'm just going to go back into the negative space here and make my ground kind of organic, or, not perfectly straight across. And definitely this brush does not hold nearly the amount of water as the other ones, so I have to move differently. So good time to try different brushes, see how they behave with your paper. It's always fun to try, especially with these kinds of negative paintings, because really, you're really just doing a lot of wet washes. And I'm going to just bring this purple. I really like that purple, so I'm going to bring it across while it's still wet. Like that. I just love that. I think that's really pretty. I'm just looking at it like an abstract now, not even thinking about the trees. Just thinking about color and putting the color down and watching the colors blend together. And now, just as long as I stay outside of the lines that I drew, I'm good to go. I'm good. And just kind of merging colors together. Let them merge together. One note of caution, though, if you work with your complementary colors, like your red, let's say you have a magenta and you have your blue and yellow, and if you start painting a lot with the complementary colors, you may start getting just brown that you might not want. So kind of try to stay on the same color family. So if you're doing lots of blues, stay in the blues, maybe a little magenta and some purple colors. Just maybe not put the yellow right next or right on top of it, because it will just kind of turn brown. So just play, see how your colors, what they do, how they dance together. And that's what I love about watercolor, because colors are amazing. And keep your colors not too saturated. And here I'm just going to pop in some in these little mini paintings here, and the little gaps. These are just little mini abstracts. I'm going to put some in there. And I'm just going to make those branches, just trying to get these, there you go, like that. Here's one here. My lines are so light that it's really hard to see. So I just gotta kind of keep working that. And then you can just make up new branches if you see where you want to have more light, because you'll retain your light wherever you're not painting. So if you want to have more light, just just don't paint over in that area so much. Just make new branches. We're just going to drop some color in these, and maybe a little bit of that magenta color, just to kind of give consistency across the whole thing. Here I've got some more, it's still wet, so I can work that. And the areas that are still wet, they can blend together really nice. But if they're dry, you got to wait till the next layer. So that one I think was not really, it wasn't that, it's not blending. So I'm just going to go ahead and get that like this, maybe like that. Really, if you want to give like the impression of leaves or something, you can just go into your, you can go into your little negative painting area and just give like an impression of leaves. We're not even thinking, we're just giving texture. You can also splatter if you want to splatter some. That's also a wonderful thing. It's going to go here like that, and then this way. So I've got my little thing happening. I'm going to turn it over. And the reason I do it upside down, it's just easier to get the branches and all that with the point of your brush going the other way. But I'm going to just do it this way now on this one, the right way. So I'm going to do my last little section, which is like a little mini painting, filling it with water, and giving it a wash, watching where my lines are. I don't want to cover my pencil lines. I just want to go on the outside only. Like that. So I've got that first section, and I'll just drop some color right here, maybe just to continue that purpley pink yumminess over there, maybe over here. So you're kind of continuing that's kind of a consistency there. And then I've got that yellow color, which I was hoping they would give the impression of leaves, but I don't know if that's what they're doing. That's okay. All this is going to get covered up anyway with more paint. So the last section here is right there, and I'm just going to go right next to, there we go. Fill it in a little bit, give it some color, and maybe a little, maybe some yellow, just a touch of it. Not much. I'm just going to leave that alone. So first layer done. Now I do have my trunks are kind of, I can deal with shadows and details later, but this is the first layer. And now I'm going to do, and I noticed too, this is kind of dark, but as we do know that watercolors will dry lighter. So I'm going to go ahead and dry this first layer thoroughly. Get that dryer out. And if you find your colors are too dark, you might have gone too dark, you can always kind of lighten things up a little by blotting it with wetting the area and blotting it. I'm not going to worry about it so much now. Just gonna take it as it is. I've got like some areas that are pure white, which is nice, but you can see the difference with this white strip here, and this has got a tone to it, but it will still appear as white because I'm going to keep going darker and darker with the layers. This will be the first time I've ever done these kinds of trees, so I think it'll be fun to add little layers of those little textures on the trees afterwards with a pen or with a fine brush, which we'll do that when we're all done with the layering. The reason I started one that's only about 8 inches square is it takes much longer the larger your paper is. So take your time on this, no rush. You've got plenty of time. And just make sure your layer's completely dry before we do the next, before you pencil anything else in. Okay. Pretty sure that's dry enough to do the next. So I'm going to take, instead of the watercolor, I'm actually going to show you, so I'm going to check and see if that watercolor pencil really dissolves or not, because I see a little pencil line down here, and I'll let you know if it dissolves. then I'm a happy camper. Yeah, it dissolves. Okay, so that's nice. Okay, so the little watercolor pencils, depends on the brand probably, but some of them dissolve and some don't do very well, because I think some of them have actually a little bit of wax in them, and if that happens, then that could be an issue. So yes, my pencil lines have disappeared. Just I have a little edge of, which is no big deal. I just wanted to show you, yes, they do disappear if you want them to. And I love that like that. So now I'm going to do another layer, and this time I'm going to create another horizon line, and I'm going to start kind of low over here, and I'll probably go a little higher. So I'm going to do a little horizon line starting about right here above, just a little bit above, and I'm going to make it kind of curvy, like it's kind of hard to see, but I don't know if you see that. And then I'm going to kind of go up. I'm going to make a nice little line, kind of wiggly, just it looks like the forest floor. You know, there's curbs and mounds. So there's my little, I just have a line going like this. And now I'm going to do a tree. Right here, I'm going to do this big one. I'm going to do one right here, right in between, but not perfectly smack in the middle. I'm going to do just slightly off. Either way, I'm going to go up, and I'm going to make myself more trees, another tree trunk. So I'm going to go up there, and you know, aspens or birch have nice straight trunks, nice tall straight trunks. These are going to be slightly thinner than the first ones because it's farther back. I'm just going to go up, and then I'm just going to kind of make these like that all the way up. I've got my little sideway branch there, and I could make it go up like this, and I'll have it go up like that. Okay, so I've got one birch. There we go. And I could even have the trunk go all the way across if I want, like that. Or have the branch go across behind the first one. So that's that one. And then I'm going to do another one kind of right here. Maybe, so I'm not going to do so many. I'm going to just do, this is my layer here. I think the next one I'll just do right here. I'm just going to bring a branch up. Well, not a branch, the trunk. And this one I'm just going to go really tall, really simple. I'm not going to overdo the branch part. Make it maybe a little skinnier than the other one because they're not all exactly the same width. Some of them are really skinny. Okay, and there's that one. So I don't know if you see that, but there it is. Hope you can see it. So I've got 1, 2, and I'm going to do a third tree. I should probably do 4, but I'm going to leave this one alone. I'm going to do one over here, kind of right there. And I'm just going to do a sort of a thin one going up, and maybe just tall and skinny. And then I'm doing a sideways branch and an upward branch. Just kind of just sketch it out. And really, and then this time I'm going to leave that one open. I'm just going to not do anything. So I've only done 3 trees. 1, 2, 3. Leave these alone. Next step is to do the same thing. My negative painting, I'm going to turn it upside down. And I'm going to take the drawing, wherever I have done the last drawing, I'm just going to do another layer of color. And this time I'm going to do a little green just to see what happens. So maybe some cascade green or something, if I can find it. But not too, I think I should stay kind of in the blue tones, blue purples maybe at this point. So I'm going to go ahead, and I don't have anything except for maybe one branch that goes across in this horizon line here. So I'm just going to go ahead and do a light wash. Another layer. Basically, we're glazing. That's what we're doing. Glazing. Now this one I see in my little branch just a little bit. I'm gonna, that pencil line goes across like that, and that's the only place on that one that I have a area that's negative, the negative space. And then just do the same thing that you did with the other one. plop some colors in and maybe just to deepen an area. Just to kind of change it up a little bit. And then I'm going to take the same one. So this one I'm basically glazing over the same thing because I don't have anything behind it. I didn't do a tree behind that. I'm just keeping it simple there. Okay, so there's the horizon line. Now this is where I'm going to have a lot of action because I see my drawing, my pencil marks are there. So I'm going to go ahead and start by, I see that this is where I'll just do a nice wet wash here. I'm going to even throw some purple in. I haven't done that yet. Purple right there. And then wherever my pencil's lines are, I'm just not going to paint into them. You can add a little blue. This is a blue I haven't added yet, so I'm just going to put some of that in. Just try different colors. Watch them blend. See what they do. Now this I have to know. I noticed that my branches, there's a branch going across here, so I'm just going to go right to the edge where that branch. You don't want to paint over anything that's already been drawn. And just keep those little wet areas like little mini paintings right in between, right in your, just handle each little section separately, and then just put in colors that are similar to each other, just to kind of give it consistency. So it's still wet over here, so I can do that. And then this, I see a little branch here going up, and I'm going to just bring it up a little bit. There we go. So I'm just keeping my tones similar, a little bit darker, but not much. Or the value of this, I don't want to go too dark because of course it depends on how many layers you do. So I see a little branch here that's crisscrossing. It's where you need your. This is where you need your smaller brush, absolutely. Otherwise, you'll just paint right over your negative or your space or positive space, whatever it's called. Yeah, the positive space. You don't want to paint over that. So I'm going to throw a little yellow in there just because. Let's see what happens right up here, just for fun. A little of that same yellow that I've been working with, which is really a raw umber, so it's nice. It's a nice kind of soft yellow. It's not too bright. And then I can just cover these. There's no spaces here that I need to worry about, so I'm just going to go right over that. And there, little spot there, and here. So there, that's the. And this spot I have to do as well, because that's right. That dried, maybe it just needs a little more enhancement right in here. So that's that section. Now I'm going to go to the middle. Same thing, just keep plugging away at your sections. And really a small postcard would have been a good thing, a smaller one, but I don't know why I always go this big for an hour class, but we have more than an hour. If you have the time, I have the time today. I'm not going anywhere, in no hurry, but I want you to at least get the idea of how this works so that you can keep doing it and we can finish a painting. Maybe it'll take a little longer than an hour. So now I'm just going to try to I think on the next few layers, I'm going to go just blues, try to cool this down a little bit. I'll wait till I've got this covered. So I'm just going to that next layer. This next positive drawing needs to be filled in, and you've got to keep an eye on your lines. This is very relaxing and calming. No stress. Just put some colors in where you think it'd be fun, like while the paint's still wet. And then you'll find out what colors really work well together too. You'll just see this color is fabulous next to that one. And then sometimes you'll see colors that don't work so well together. And then you just think, oh, I think I'll avoid using that one next time. next to that color, and you'll get used to your watercolors, whatever you have. You'll get to know them if you just keep a kind of a limited palette. There we go. That's as far as it's going to go there. Try to keep your, of course I've got like thousands of colors here, and I seem to always be gravitated towards one or two, like a certain family of colors, and then the rest I just leave on I don't use. It's just crazy. But that's probably normal. So there's my other layer. And then I see my little drawing needs to be there, continued over here. And that was really dark over there, so I don't need to do much painting on this little part here. I just need to bring out that tree. Bring this little tree, this little trunk out so that you can see it's starting to show, because I'm painting the negative spaces in between. I remember doing this in college art class where we had to draw. Everything was drawn in negative space. So we had like lawn chairs, or not lawn chairs, but just office chairs, and stacked up, and all these angles. And we couldn't draw the chair. We had to draw the actual space behind the chair. And that was interesting. And then when it all comes together, your chair looks like chairs, stacked chairs. It's a really good exercise. And that's kind of what we're doing here. Except we don't have anything we're looking at. We're just kind of making it up as we go. That's the fun, because everybody's going to have a different painting. It's not going to be exactly the same, because everybody will be drawing their branches differently, and their trees. And it's whatever whatever you are familiar with and you think about, or what, they can be something that's totally doesn't have to look real, doesn't have to look real. Just give the impression of a tree. It doesn't have to be a real tree. I see some little place where I can see a branch going across, so I'm going to just kind of enhance that. And if you get a little paint on your white areas, just blot them off so that they don't, there you go, like that. This is where you need your finer brush for sure. I'll just drop some more of that purple color in there. It's a very strong, quinacridone magenta is a really strong color. So there it is. And I see areas that may need to be darkened, but I'll just keep with one more layer. I think we'll be there. So we want to do another layer after this. That's kind of what's going to make it really look. Having the 4 layers is really the best. I'm just going to put some dark color here while it's still wet. Okay, there. Kind of like just thinking of that as a separate painting. Here I've got my horizon line I see. I'm going to bring, there it is. And now I'm going to just put some more color in. So what color is this? I'm going to try a different, ooh, that's brown. I don't want that. What am I looking at? Oh, there's some purple color. That's kind of cool. I'm just going to put trying different colors now. And I'm not seeing any drawing in here. That's right, I didn't put a tree in there. So I'm going to go ahead and fill that in. I didn't draw one there, so that's good. If I had done that, we'd be sitting here longer and longer. It's really long, a couple hours probably. But now I see there's really nothing here. I'm going to just do the whole, cover that, like do that layer, glaze that layer. This time I'm going to just try a different color. This is more of a gray color. It's a neutral color. Add to the blues a little bit. This one I'll just kind of go around what I already painted, or go inside what I already have painted. And just, the more you glaze, the more layers you make, the more deep the tones will get. And eventually you could keep glazing and glazing until it looks black, because you'll lose the light that's coming through. The white paper is your white. You'll lose that if you keep glazing over and over. Take a while, but you can do it. I'm just going to do that. Filling in. Boy, that's going to be, now here's a little place that I see, and I don't know where it came from, but a branch. So I'm going to I see a branch that I drew, so I'm going to go ahead and just go around that branch, not going, I want to give that, there it is. I almost didn't see it because my lines are so pale. And then just drop color in while it's still wet. And maybe I'll add some more of that magenta just to make it consistent. There it is, a little bit here and there. So there's that. Okay, one more. I'm going to go into that. There's my horizon line and a little tiny tree that's right there. So this is where the detail, where you need a smaller brush. And I'm just going in. I don't want to paint over any of my other, oops, if it does, a little bit happens. It's part of the nature of it. It's okay. Then I see a little branch, which I didn't draw that way, but that's all right. So that, I'm just going to take care of that. It's going to go, so you can see my last tree here. I'm going to take, you see the edge right there, and I'm just going to cover. There we go. I'm trying to go quick, but it's kind of hard. So I don't want you to have to go quick though. So I just covered up, I just painted over some of that so you can blot off. If you see anything you've painted over, blot it off quickly and it will show back the light color again. So here I see that just needs to go straight up like that. So now that if I turn it around, I'm turning around, I'm seeing it's starting to kind of take shape, right? We've got, it's starting to happen. Now I see this is a little darker, but I'll wait for it to be darker than that part, but I'm going to dry it. And it's going to make a difference when we do the little notches on the aspen trees, the little, I'm going to show you a reference photo for that. You could have had leaves and things or impression of leaves if you want, but this is just kind of a different style than which I'll show you the other example, which I just kind of did a soft wash going to the other side of the page on the other one, which I'll show you. So on this one, you can see there's just like a soft wash that just goes above the tree line or the branch line. This one I just wanted to extend because I really wanted to show the tallness of these trees. And the beauty about aspens, and I know there's people who probably really know these trees more than I do, but I just only recently really found out that these aspen fields, or you see them all grouped together, they're really one organism, which blows my mind. They're actually one organism. And I think at the end of the class, I think I know somebody that can explain it a little bit better. But it's so beautiful. So now we've got one more, we're going to do one more layer of thin. This time I'm going to take my pencil that's regular so I can see, because it's getting harder to see. So I'm going to do one right here, but I'm going to take another horizon line and I'm just going to draw with my pencil. I'm going to make a thin line and I'm just going to I'm going to kind of make it go straight across, but with a little bit of variation, of course. I don't want it to be perfectly straight, but it's kind of receding back. You can even make it go curved. If you actually, what I could do. I can't erase it now, but if I could have gone backwards to kind of make a path, but I'm not going to do it. Okay, so now I'm going to do another line of trees. This one, I'm going to do it right here, very small, but I'm going to do some more branches probably. I'm going to go up. This is going to take a little bit of time to paint, but it's worth it. Little tiny branches. It's really hard to see, but I'm doing them. And I wanted to just kind of see it go up to the top and maybe just kind of branch up like that. So it's really hard to see, but I just did a small little tree, and I'm going to do, I think this one needs one, but I'm going to have it kind of close to this over here. So I'm just going to maybe even just make it behind or very small. And just go up. I'm just going to go straight up, and then I'll just make those branches really thin, and I maybe just do them freehand. I'm just going to do that. I'm going to do it freehand. So this one, I'm going to do this one a little bit closer. And I'm going to go up, much thinner. Maybe this branch will go across. And this one goes way up to the sky. Maybe that one go that way and just have it kind of, it can even just sort of disappear into nothing also. That area I'm going to leave alone. This one, I'm going to do this one also, another. So this will be the last layer, no more after that. This is going to take the longest probably. I'm just going to just draw the little branches up and probably freehand some of this because I can barely see. I'll leave that one alone because that's fine, but I will have to paint in between because I have the horizon line there showing. Okay, last one, last step, last but not least. So it's better, it's easier to just do it upside down. And you can see this section here is really dark, which is okay. That's why I'm leaving it a lot. So I'm not going to put a branch or a tree in there. These I'm going to go a lot darker. And this time I'm going to use my darker colors just because it's my last layer. I'm going to do maybe, what is this color? It's a really deep, it's almost like it's like a Payne's gray color. So I can see where my horizon barely, you can barely see it. I'm going to take my Payne's gray, mixture of Payne's gray and blue, and I'm just going to go ahead and create that last layer. And I'm going to try to go quickly. I'm not going to mix a lot of colors. So I really want you to see this. This is just like, it's such a beautiful, the layering part just makes it so great. So get my Payne's gray, if that's it. Oops, that's purple. I don't want that. There it is. What is that color? There it is. I got it. So there, I'm going to take, of course, you can also, if you do it this way, then you can see, you can probably visualize a little better. So I'll go ahead and just bring that up. And I can make up my own branches as I go. Let's see. I'm just going to take this all the way down. And I don't want to cover my horizon line. There it is. Or paint to the line that you made, like that. And here's where a little branch went across. And then this is where I've got a little branch coming up. It's just where you have to find your little lines and just stay within those so that you still have, so that layer starts to really, show all those little fun little layers start to, the more detail that's back there, the more interesting your painting will be. Or it can be simple, whatever you want. Since I want to keep it simple because I'm going to do those little black little lines that go across the trunks. So that's the darkest layer right there. It's a very deep Payne's gray color with a little, maybe some blue in that. It's pretty deep. It's not dark, it's not black, but it's appearing more black because I have so much, because of the layers. Here's my next section. I see the trunk, so I'm going to just fill that in. I kind of want to make sure it's straight because these trees usually have nice straight trunks. They're not twisted, really. If you have a twisted trunk tree, you can even do this with palm trees. I think that would be a fun one too. Just a whole forest of palm trees. And then have a beach, like a coastal background. That might be fun. We should do that. So there's this part. So I've got that trunk back here. Now I'm going to wing it now as far as I need to just create some kind of branch system. So I'm going to create, just make little shapes and then think of the space that's going to be the branch. So this will be the branch and they're thin. And then I'm going to go up this way. And I'm just painting the negative space only. And as I go up this trunk, I'm just trying to create those branches just to give interest. You can see it looks more like like you're looking deep into the forest. Here I'll do the same on this one. And just bring this to the side. That needs to just be that. And then there's that trunk, bringing it back. And then this one, I think it would be really cool to, when I go up here, it needs a little crisscross, it needs something that, and I'm going to bring it all the way up that way. This time I'm just not really I haven't drawn, I'm just looking to see where I'd like some more detail. And then just try to get it up, or I can just blend it if I wanted to. I'm just, this time now I'm trying to just show the height of those beautiful branches. Yeah, like that. So now I've got this one. That one I made that line so I can remember that I started one over there. Otherwise I'd forget. And this little section needs to be filled in, but I think also this also needs a sort of like a different branch. So I'm going to just fill it in right in here, but then I want a branch kind of coming across more like that. So I've got to turn it around so I can kind of see or manipulate my brush so I can get in this little crack right in there. Pretty much using one color right now because it really, the darkness of it, I would lose any variation of color anyway. So I'm just going to really kind of keep it simple. And just to deepen that last layer. And I'm going to go ahead and here I see, maybe I'll just add another area like that. Now before, I should probably show you the little notches. I'm going to look at the time and see where we're at. Yeah, we've got 3 minutes. So that's going to take me a lot longer than 3 minutes. So so you can see how I'm just going to finish this whole part. And I will do it, but I want to show you you can, if you like it like this, if you don't want to have little spaces, or little notches, you don't need them. But if you want them, here's what I would do. Take a brush that's kind of thin, like on the thinner side, small, and I'm going to do this on this one just so you can kind of see. I'm going to take that same dark color that I used, the indigo, and I'm going to add a little bit of that, just a touch of that raw umber in it, just to warm it up a little. And I'm going to start making the little lines that go across this. So, and it really is, if you look, they're very black and crusty. So you can kind of make like very watercolor. You could just kind of create lines. And I'm going to start up here. I'm going to start down here, and I'm just going to make like kind of like jiggly notches, kind of like lines here like this. You can go all the way to the edge. You can make little dots. However, it's just basically random kind of horizontal lines that go up, very random. So, and it doesn't have to be perfect because the tree is not, it's not perfect. They're all, it's just kind of that, give that impression of the horizontal lines, and you do that all the way up to the top. And that's going to give you, and you can vary your darkness and your light, not making them too dark. You can make some like a little bit lighter, like I'll just do a few that are a little bit lighter. I'm just going to go like this, just jiggle, jiggle. I'm not trying too hard. I can always go back and do more later, but just trying, there we go, just kind of a random thing up there. That's it. I'm going to leave that alone. I'll let that dry, and I'll do that to all of them. I can do it to these. I can still, I can do these while this is drying. So yeah, you can just start, you can make the same thing do it on the darker on your trees, on your front trees, and then just play with making those lines kind of random and making splotches. But just think of going horizontal like this, and then going off the edge like that. And it just kind of looks like them. from afar, right? So, and then just making like little triangular shapes, kind of like cross. So they're now, nothing is perfectly symmetrical. You don't want them the same distance. You just go all the way up and make little dots. So I've got that one. I see that this one needs there, right there. So just make some changes, however you want to do it. This one's probably too much across. I'm going to make a little splotch there. And kind of step away from it, step back from it if you're getting too close. You might find you're, too detailed. So just do that. Do these on your first level of trees, because that will give you the kind of the feeling of what you're looking for. If you like the aspens and you think they're beautiful, I think they're so gorgeous at all times of the year. Winter time is incredible. And I don't have them, very many of them where I live, but if I go just an hour north, they're all over the place. And they're just beautiful, especially this time of year with snow. But I don't have snow here. I could make this, if I'd left it white, it could be snow, I guess. So there's those trees. So now I can just, I can just keep going and fill in this part here with the indigo, the dark color that I had started with. And I'm going to do this layer here. And what I'll do is I'll do this one more layer here. And then I want to open it up and see how everybody's doing. And then I'll finish this, make sure, I want to show you the finished piece. But there's one other thing I want to show you before we sign off, or before we share. The other thing, after I fill this little part in, now that I've started, I don't want to stop now that I started the wash. So I'll just finish this up, and then I'll show you the little next thing that you could do to give it like the feeling of light, or like sunlight going through the trees type of a thing. I want to show you what I will do next, because this negative painting is, we've got the layout that way, but then you can also, like that. You can add texture. You can add. We'll just keep, so you can see how it's going to get deeper. Now, if I want to, I'm going to make some shadows across this, because it's just so, that stark bottom is just a little too much. So what I'm going to do is take a little bit of kind of a very soft shadow color. There's actually a color called Moon Glow, but if you don't have that, just a little purple and some neutral tint, something dark, but not too dark. You want a mid tone. So I'm going to take, and I'm going to imagine my light up here, and I'm just going to take the bottom of this tree, and I'm going to go like this at an angle, saying the bottom of this tree, and then I'm going to go across kind of at a 45-degree angle, and I'm going to take the bottom of this one, and I'm creating a shadow. So I've got 3 shadows here. I'm going to do the same thing for the ones that are here, like this next level. I'm going to take that bottom of that tree, and I'm going to bring the shadow, and this time I'm going to end it right there. There we go, like that. And I'm going to take the bottom of this one and bring it across, but I'm ending it right there. Here I don't see one, here I do. So I'm going to take that and kind of 45-degree angle, just a little a shadow. So that kind of gives that depth, look like it's maybe, rolling. Or if you wanted it to go across, I would go a little bit lighter. Like if I wanted these to go across, I'm just going to soften that a little bit. And that basically here and here. So what I have now is really, it looks like light's coming through somewhere. There gives more dimension. And I'm going to pretend like that has one too. It just needed that on the corner. So that gives you a lot more depth and sort of like just more depth and more interest in design, rather than everything going just straight up. So now that I've done all the layers, and I've put some snow on it by taking some gouache and splattering it with my brush, now I'm ready to take the tape off.
Oh, we can't wait to see.
Yes, the reveal, right? The reveal. Okay, so this is where you got to be careful. Depends on the tape you have, but just go slow. Otherwise, you'll be sorry that you picked up half of your paper. So
yeah.
You know how that goes. So I'm just
Mm.
taking that and, ooh, yes. So then, of course, I'll trim the paper down, and I'm liking it now. Much better. I think having that snow really loosened it up and really kind of changed it, didn't it? And then that
Yeah.
will be much more fun. And then I can just put a little signature or my little seal down, and there it is.